This video addresses a couple of comments on the milk kefir update video. First comment, can you share how you lost weight? I've been tracking and researching my personal weight loss issues for quite some time. Here's my weight chart from May 2011 to present March 24. The basics. There are 3 things that will ensure you lose fat, and that's what I'm focused on, losing fat, not weight. And for most of us, I'd say the number 1 factor is the amount of calories we consume. Number 1, yes, you heard correctly, how much activity we engage in. Number 3, muscle mass. It may be a surprise to some of you, muscles burn calories even at rest. I did say I was focused on losing the fat. This exercise is fabulous for strengthening the muscles around my dodgy right knee, and if you've got posture issues like me, then I highly recommend assisted pull-ups and chin-ups. There are caveats to all 3. I've listed them in the order I consider to be most impactful, though don't underestimate the benefits of muscle mass. But we all know that if you consume fewer calories and are more active, then you will lose fat. The question is, why so many of us find it incredibly difficult? Back to the weight chart. It reads from right to left, i.e. starting in May 2011 with my first serious and very determined attempt. I did really well, though the inevitable happened. The orange colour denotes estimates during the downward spirals when being capable and together could be challenging. Not to be deterred though, I had another very determined go and another until I was convinced of why I was struggling and gave up. The jaggy orange ups and downs with a few blue actual weights. I've put in some wild swings for the mountain walks I was doing. In my opinion, you can't beat long duration aerobic exercise for burning off a couple of kilos of fat. I'd go for a long mountain walk, shed the weight, and then put it all back on again in the next day or so. At the time, these long mountain walks were an imperative for me. I doubt I'd be here if I hadn't forced myself to keep active. Also, and this is for me the most significant factor that means I now find maintaining a healthy weight and exercise regime easy. These long mountain walks removed me from the environment I was living in at the time. There you have it. I moved and therefore changed my environment. How do I know the reason for my obesity was environmental? Quite early on, the autumn of 2013, during my final determined effort, I went to stay in a remote cottage in Glenlivet, Scotland. During the week I stayed there, I found it incredibly easy to moderate my calorie intake and abstain from alcohol. I walked up a mountain, Ben Rinnes, a hike I'd done many times as a young man. I scarpered up and down effortlessly. A couple I met on the way up were astonished to see me return to the car park while they were still preparing to leave. As soon as I got home, all of my symptoms, my cravings for alcohol and excessive calorie intake, lethargy returned. Just to make sure, before selling up and moving, I went to stay in another remote cottage, this time further up north near Inverness, a place called Bewley. Another week of fresh air, mountain hiking, biking and restricted calorie intake. I lost 5 kilos during that week. And again, as soon as I returned to the environment that was causing me issues, all of my poor habits returned. Now I was certain that it was where I was staying that was causing me all the issues, so I cracked on with finishing off the renovations to the house and put it on the market. Quite pleased with my efforts. though I did run a handyman business for a while. Thankfully it sold reasonably quickly and I moved to Ireland. Initially I stayed with a relative and the difference was dramatic. Within a couple of months I'd more or less given up alcohol. Not a conscious decision, no effort required. I just kind of lost interest in it. You can note that for the most part the food was organic. Certainly all home cooked from raw ingredients. Portion sizes were large. I often went back for seconds and yet I struggled not to lose fat. Interestingly, on one of the trips back to Scotland to get the remainder of my stuff out of storage and exposed to the last of the last place, so to speak, on the way back I stopped in Glasgow at a well-known fast food outlet and had 2 large beef burgers, large fries and large Coke. And then again I stopped in Kilmarnock and had a repeat. That's 4 beef burgers, not to mention the large fries and large Cokes, in the space of an hour. I can't remember how long these bottles of beer and wine have been in the cupboard. Certainly more than 3 years. That definitely wouldn't have happened in the last place. Anyway, another comment on the Kefir update video suggested that I gave up the booze and hence. This guy at first stopped to drink beer. That was the main part of his transformation. But really, Mr. Craig, great results. I love Kefir too. Keep it up. Though analysing my weight chart, I gave up the booze, or at least there was a considerable decrease around December 2015. Though my weight and the amount of fat I had remained high until October the following year, when, having settled into the new home, I focused on losing the fat. So giving up the booze isn't the whole story, although it definitely helps, and I'm more or less teetotal now. Unless in a social situation where it would be polite to do so, I don't have any alcohol and I don't miss it at all. During the time February 2020 to August the same year, my weight increased. The only period which bucks a trend that I want to talk about in a future video. For now, the important point to note is I wasn't boozing, and yet my weight increased, and significantly, I put on 5 kilos. Once I'd changed my environment, recording my stats was easy. No more orange estimates, no issues with getting up in the morning and entering the data. My mental health has improved, memory, concentration, problem-solving ability, confidence and general emotional happiness. Back to the weight chart. As you can see, a remarkable difference since I've moved to Ireland and changed my environment. There was a remarkable difference during my first very determined attempt as well, though the difference this time is it's been sustained. There have been ups and downs during the past 7 or so years, though I haven't come close to my most obese weight of 94 kilos. I'm currently around 70, so I've lost not far short of 4 stone, around 50 pounds. What does that look like, apart from the obvious? Five 5-litre bottles of water weigh around 25 kilos, not far short of 4 stone, around 50 pounds. Fat is less dense than water, around 0.92 kilos per litre, so 25 kilos of fat is around 27 litres. Anyway, imagine carrying around 25 kilos all the time. Next time you're down the shops, try picking up 25 litres of bottled water and give it a try. I'll go into more detail regarding my considerable fat decreases in future videos, though take a hint, long duration aerobic exercise, hiking, and I love going on my mountain bike. While in Scotland, on the SUV tracks in the mountains, and on the quiet rural Irish roads, and now I'm here. I've had the opportunities for both, though just get active. Swimming, walking, a fold-up rowing machine. Fresh air is always good. I definitely wouldn't be going for a run in a polluted city with all the traffic fumes. Roll on electric cars, bikes, and the infrastructure to support them. Wind farms, solar PV, etc. Don't shovel it in or glug it down though, and eat a clean diet with lots of probiotic food. I couldn't keep up a healthy diet, stay off the booze, and as I say, had to force myself to engage in structured exercise at the last place I stayed. I did try, and I'm very determined. Now I find it all effortless, no determination required. Thanks a mil for watching. Good luck.